Well, good grief, holy baloney, can you believe it? Stick it in my ear hole, what is going on? Because yes, of course, we are here to talk about the 2025 Royal Rumble, and we will get to what could be the most surprising winner of all time and how it's divided the audience as always. But we are going to sit down and go through the Royal Rumble, and I'm just going to tell you this right off the bat. I thought it was a very fun and entertaining show, and for people that go, Simon, you saying that about everything, it's actually not true if you listen to my words. It was just, to me, it had the surprises, it had the uncertainty, but also some of the results were obvious, so it gave me balance, right? And I've watched a lot of Star Wars over my life, and I know the whole point of life is to bring balance to the force. So, of course, we'll talk about the Women's Royal Rumble overall. There was absolutely a lull in the middle of this one. There was absolutely a lull in the middle of the men's one, too. Maybe that's just the way, and maybe as I've grown older, I'm just more aware of it. I don't know. Please debate me, argue with me in the comments. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe too. But I mean, some of the surprises here were just wonderful. I mean, even like Roxanne Perez coming in at number 3. I don't think that would be considered a major shock, but it may be for warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum, prowrestlingtees.com/Simon Miller. And the fact she went all the way to the final 2 is surely putting her in a similar position to other people that have been runners-up in the Royal Rumble. Still kind of feel like maybe we're going to do a Bayley match at WrestleMania. I would enjoy that. We're planting the seeds now, although they do have that match on NXT. We'll have to wait and see what is going to happen. But that, to me, is a huge plus. Charlotte Flair coming in and winning the thing, we'll get there in a minute, and it's not a surprise, obviously, because it had been advertised, but it's still like, oh my gosh, here we come. And number 21 was Alexa Bliss. We could do a whole video on this, and maybe we will. Now, she got a massive reaction, which was wonderful to see. She's been out a long time. I think a lot of people forgot how popular she was. But in the weeks leading up to this, the dirt sheets or the rumor mill or whatever you want to say had kept reporting, oh, they can't come to terms on a contract. And it doesn't sound like Alexa Bliss is going to be back with the WWE very soon. And then she turns up. So I can only presume, and I'm guessing and I'm speculating myself, that Triple H or the powers that be and management are now deliberately leaking things out there to see, are you going to corroborate your sources? Are you just going to run this? And it does make wrestling way more interesting, because now every time you do read a report, it's like Boy Who Cried Wolf. You are going to have to go, well, I don't know whether this is true or not. And I love that, man. I always want wrestling to confuse me. Now, I didn't actually talk or pass comment on the Alexa Bliss situation, but even if I had been, yes, I know what's going on, I'm happy to hold my hands up and say, you got me, bros. And maybe that's one of the reasons she did get a bigger pop, because there's always nerds in big crowds like this. I would have been one of those nerds for sure. You do double act because you get that, it's Alexa Bliss, and oh my gosh, that stuff I read wasn't true. And Liv Morgan knocked her out as well. So that's a good subplot. That's a good side quest. For some reason, Alexa Bliss versus Liv Morgan feels like a good feud. And given that Raquel Rodriguez would be Liv Morgan's tag team partner, maybe there's somebody I'm not thinking of right now that could team up with Alexa Bliss. I don't know, but it sounds reasonable. Also thought Chelsea Green, as always, was one of the MVPs of the damn thing. I mean, she kept being put in heel positions, and all the fans are like, no, we're going to cheer. We're going to cheer you. We don't care about this. And at number 30, we had the return of Nikki Bella. Now, I think you have to put a tick by that, because we have seen in the past, lots of people thought AJ Lee. I was so stuck in the middle of that one. I really didn't know what to expect, but that's cool too, because it raises anticipations. I was much more certain about Becky Lynch, so I got that one wrong. But it meant when Nikki Bella did come out at number 30, maybe some people would have been like, you know, disappointed, and you would have got a Rey Mysterio reaction from 10 years ago, whenever it was. But we didn't get that. People were just super happy to see Nikki Bella, who then decided to do press-ups, which was a bit strange. And Jordynne Grace made her proper WWE debut, if you want to call her that. Now, she was fighting with a lot of the NXT people, and I do believe she threw out Julia, or Julia threw out her. So I would have to hazard a guess. Of course, Julia was surprised too, as was Stephanie Vaquer and Jada Parker and Lash Legend. But I'd have to, if I was going to hazard a guess, which I am, that's the whole point of these videos, I would think that Jordynne Grace is going to start in NXT. No problem with that. You can literally do what you're doing with Julia right now. I think Julia will be on the main roster sooner rather than later. Maybe Jordynne Grace is the one to beat her, or anybody else, and then she gets her licks, her rep, whatever word you want to use. I mean, she's got a big pop here, so the main roster audience is clearly aware who she is. But you have to continually make sure that NXT is stacked. Otherwise, we'll lose this great synergy between all the brands. So that was awesome as well. And I also want to give a shout out to Nia Jax, I thought was tremendous throughout all of this. She went from being funny to being dominant. You know, she was throwing people out, like Trish Stratus again. There was another surprise, and that all came to what Candice LeRae and Nia Jax were doing. So are we going to do Nia Jax versus Trish Stratus at WrestleMania? I could be completely wrong, but to me, the secret sauce of a good Royal Rumble is that we can have these conversations afterwards. There have been some Rumbles in the past where, I don't know, let's just say Radiator Man wins. And you're like, oh, great, Radiator Man won, but it's kind of boring. And then you go through the whole thing like no surprises, no subplots, no side quests, nothing built for WrestleMania. And it doesn't necessarily mean we are going to head that way, but the teasers are there and the wink, wink, nudge, nudges. And I'll take Nia Jax versus Trish Stratus Ain't no one booing Trish Stratus over Nia Jax, although Nia Jax is becoming very entertaining. So it could happen. It could be one of those situations. Raquel Rodriguez is falling into that territory for me as well. Why'd she wear sunglasses for 5 seconds of entrance and then throw them on the floor? I mean, a few people did that. Lyra Valkyria ran to the ring wearing her IC title. Also, it was Ivy Nile that threw out Lyra Valkyria, so that's another tease. We're probably going to do something there. And you had everything with Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, which was my favourite side quest as I continue to use that word. But we did do the same thing in the Women's Royal Rumble as we did with the men's with, who was it? Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, with your friend knocking out your friend. I don't think we're going to do Jey Uso versus Sami Zayn anytime soon, but down the line for sure. But with everything else we've talked about, I do think, given that the other way around, given that Piper accidentally knocked out Chelsea, that we will get to WrestleMania. We'll do that match, and it's going to be difficult. On paper, traditional wrestling booking, Piper Niven should win and become the US champion, but Chelsea Green is so popular, you won't run the risk that Piper Niven will remain a heel. But that's just good stuff, man. We can throw that in the box and see where we get out with. And again, we got down to Charlotte Flair and Roxanne Perez. I probably told you that Charlotte was going to win. It didn't really feel like we'd heated up Roxanne Perez to that degree. I wouldn't have minded it, but then given what we did in the main event, it makes much more sense why we stuck to the obvious one. So let's just discuss it, because I never go on social media until I've made ups and downs. Again, that's on What Culture right now. And I do for these videos, because that way I can get a more general impression of what's going on. They're all bubbles, right? These are always small platforms, and we actually don't know what the overall conversation is, because if you are happy, you rarely go on the internet and say anything. It's much more for moaning. And some people are just so damn mad that Charlotte Flair had won. And I understand, it's very stereotypical. It ties into maybe some tropes that wrestling has introduced with Charlotte along the way. She won lots of championships when people didn't think she should. It was the same with other victories she's had. But after 1 year away, and after the rehab she's been through, and all the vignettes, and the over-the-top entrance we did, I think Charlotte is going to come out onto Raw, SmackDown, whichever show you want to put her on. I think SmackDown, taking on Tiffany Stratton, and be like, yeah, you're damn right I'm the best. You're damn right I'm going to take all these titles. Damn right. The management loves me. And I think she should be a super duper mega heel. And I said this before on my predictions video. Now, obviously, I'm going to double down on it with the evidence I have. I think you do Charlotte versus Tiffany Stratton. I think Charlotte can win at WrestleMania. I don't mind that. But you make sure you do the extra 2 matches and you elongate this feud. And it ends with Charlotte Flair, quote unquote, passing the torch to Tiffany Stratton. And she feels like an even bigger star. And maybe we even cement this babyface turn that has happened naturally and organically. I don't have a problem with that. If it's going to benefit Tiffany Stratton down the line, and don't forget, WWE has 2-night SummerSlam this year, so the matches are going to feel more important. It happened, and I searched my feelings. I was like, I'm totally cool with it. And admittedly, I am certainly someone that looks on the human side of wrestling. Maybe I shouldn't do that, but I can't help it. And that goes for the good and the bad. So more for me. But that injury, I mean, she's still got a leg brace on her knee. She'd probably be like Stone Cold, right? Have to wear a Steve Austin knee brace forever. But knowing what she did go through, having this over-the-top entry, look a bit like a playing card. There was a lot of material on that entrance wear. And then get to win the Royal Rumble before that this was her moment, quote unquote. And now she can go back to being like, haha, I hate you all. It's totally good with it. I was totally fine with it. And it wasn't a perfect Royal Rumble by any stretch of the imagination. This was the problem with both Royal Rumbles. The music in WWE, the entrance music just sucks. Some people have really good tracks. I mean, obviously Seth Rollins is good and Kevin Owens is good. And this Rumble, Naomi stood up like a sore thumb. She's like, oh, it's Naomi. But they're either too generic or you don't know whose music is whose, which doesn't make any sense, because I know I am this person. I'm so blessed I get to watch every single wrestling product. And some people came out as like, I don't know who that is. And because there were 65,000 people there, which is a tremendous gate for a Royal Rumble, and why we'll definitely get a 2-night Royal Rumble next year, there's money to be made. But you can't really see screens with people's names on it, so you can't get that reaction either. And that's not what you want either. You want the instinctual thing. You want that reaction of, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So that was absolutely a shame. And there'll be other elements I've kind of swanned over as well. Like people like Zelina Vega are in it, but didn't really get to do anything. We did thankfully get some Royal Rumble nonsense with Nia Jax pulling Zelina Vega, even though she hadn't officially ended the match. And that's what Candice LeRae, after she'd been eliminated, did with Trish Stratus too. So huge fan of that. Don't get me wrong, it's dumb. And a non-wrestling fan can use that against you. And you just have to put your hands up and go, no, I'm bang to rights here. But I like it, because that's the wonderfulness of wrestling. Like people were all talking about, oh my gosh, maybe The Rock's going to be number 31 in the men's Royal Rumble after he used his executive powers. And rightfully so, the more sensible among you are like, well, why doesn't he just use his executive powers to come in at number 30? Because that ain't wrestling, right? That can be a correct answer. But no, I thought a really good Royal Rumble overall. overall. Liked how we start with Io Sky and Liv Morgan, and then sort of the workers coming in, which is kind of what we married with the men's one too. And then there were a lot of stars towards the end of the thing. And again, we didn't see Becky, we didn't see AJ Lee. And I think, well, AJ Lee I don't know about, but I think Becky Lynch will be involved in WrestleMania. I do think she's re-signed with the company. So they've obviously just come up with a different plan. And why the flub not? You also had that nice moment with Maxine. I have enjoyed actually the Pure Fusion Collective, the PFC, working as a unit. They then all got tossed out, which annoyed me. We didn't even see Sonya Deville's elimination, which is not good. You don't want to do that. But you had that Royal Rumble ticker too. Have we talked about that? I can't remember. With all the information of times and how many people we have left, how many people have come in. All of this was a great presentation. And I do think over the last few years, some of the Rumbles have been disappointing. I wasn't disappointed with this. In fact, I sat there, I enjoyed it, I had my cup of coffee, and I just had a good old time. And Charlotte Flair winning, hell yeah, she is a super duper whooper star. She's been out for a year. WWE want to bring her back and make her feel like a main event level person. Of course you can get mad. No worries with that. There's a comment box down there. Go mad at me and shake your fist, Simon. You're the problem. I understand. Thought it was really good from start to finish. It certainly did affect the DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns tag match, because these fans wanted Rumbles and they wanted the ladder match because they knew there was going to be death in that. Listen, all these guys are so talented. They are so damn good. And I enjoyed the first four when we kind of brought back what Sheamus and Cesaro at the bar used to do with the fake tags. And then the Motor City Machine Guns hit their finish. And it's the ending, I suppose, on the third fall. The Street Profits turn up. They're not injured anymore. I'm sure they were. They take out the Machine Guns with their crutches, allowing DIY to hit them, meet in the middle and win, and then they take out DIY, as Michael Cole literally tells us, oh, by the way, I'll explain this plot to you. It is because clearly the Street Profits have found out that DIY did attack them all those weeks ago. Now they want to be the people to take the titles off them, so they also attack the Motor City Machine Guns. I'm like, man, dudes, if that's what's actually going through you as characters, you need some help. You need to see a psychological professional. It just felt too convoluted for me. It felt too wishy-washy. The match is awesome, and you should watch the match. Maybe it didn't hit the levels that we thought it would do, or maybe we were just overstimulated because of the Rumbles and the World Championship match that we were about to see. I think the SmackDown Tag Team division is in a really good state. Obviously, there's Pretty Deadly, there's Legado del Fantasma. I'm sure there's other teams I'm not thinking about right now. But it's missing something. I don't know what that is. Maybe this weird heel turn with the Street Profits is the way to do it. It was just a little bit anticlimactic, I suppose. And then when they took out DIY as well, I was like, that's kind of like Google mapping to your own house. You haven't achieved anything. Why did you not just let this match happen and then run in and beat all of them? You can beat the Motor City Machine Guns and then defend your belts against DIY. It's just not that, it's because I'm being a bit of a hypocrite here, so forgive me. It's not like I have to believe that these characters have logical sense to them. Again, I'm quite happy with the nonsense and the shenanigans, but there's also a line to the stuff I'll accept, and this one went a bit too far. But the good news is the Street Profits must be back. I don't think we would have done that here. Otherwise, you can maybe do somewhat of a three-way, but in my dream world, we would reunite the Raw and the SmackDown tag team titles, but it's not going to happen. But still, really good match. Love the fact, once again, on the human side, to move into that part of the world, that DIY and Motor City Machine Guns, given their legacies and their histories and their careers, got to do it on a 65,000 plus stage at the Raw Rumble. That's probably blown their brains, and all that was good, but no idea where we go with this. And ultimately, when it was done, I was a bit like, yeah, I guess that was okay, let's move on. Because it was the WWE title match, Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens, and this one has an asterisk too. Given the lay of the land and the feeling you had in the air, I think anyone thought Kevin Owens was going to win. I would have loved it, and I would have done a dance of joy, and I would have done a backflip, especially given who won the Royal Rumble. Are you kidding me? I probably wouldn't be making this video because I would be deceased. So I think the idea here was, well, how do we get people in and how do we take them on a joyride, knowing that Cody's going to win? And their answer was death. Their answer was absolute brutality. I think we are desensitized to some of these bumps. I really do. And I understand that. We have seen so much, especially if you're watching all wrestling content. But the back body drop onto the ladder where Kevin Owens is back, the edge of the damn ladder smacked him in the neck, essentially. That's crazy. The Alabama slam that led to the finish, again, poor Kevin Owens' head going into the floor. When Cody was hanging from that belt and Kevin Owens gave him a version of the pop-up powerbomb, just watch Cody's body contort like a flipping accordion or harmonica, whatever you want to call it, when he smashes into the canvas. I don't know whether that blood on Kevin Owens was planned or not, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was out of nowhere blood, because they were just hammering on each other, and you had some comedy with that tiny mini ladder where the commentator started insulting Hornswoggle. It's like, that's interesting. But it also means within kayfabe, that's what somebody did. Like, Steve, can you go set up the ladders? He's all like, How could I put a small one in there? What a dickhead he is. So someone needs to talk to Steve. Kevin Owens is my modern day go. Anything he does. And his desire to wreck himself in ladder matches is just nonsense. And Cody Rhodes is special. He really is a babyface champion that acts well, and he got a bit mean here and gave him that awful crossroads, or like a devastating crossroads, whatever you want to call it, before he did climb the ladder. It was just a really, really good... Maybe it fit well into this card because it still would have been an amazing main event on any show. But because we had the unpredictability that was going to come, whereas this one was a bit more predictable, maybe it actually shone more in the semi-main event position. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do kind of think it a little bit. But it was great stuff, and it was a great WWE title match. And once again, I kind of became a bit of a loser here. I was so proud of both guys. I was like, well done, dudes. You've had a really good feud this past year or so, and now they will splinter off into their own direction. Super interesting for Cody. I still think we will go the John Cena direction. But what does Kevin Owens do? We did not see Randy Orton on this show. I was convinced he was either going to be in this or the Royal Rumble, or one of my dumb prediction videos, I put him in both because I'm an absolute loser. But I'm sure Randy will probably turn up on SmackDown and take out Kevin Owens, and then yes, post-elimination chamber, it will be John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. Just a great match. If you have 15 to 20 minutes today, I'd sit down, I'd watch it, maybe through your fingers at some point because you are going to wince. Cody Rhodes wins. Okay, the men's Royal Rumble. Never in my life did I think we'd get a surprise winner, especially taking on John Cena. Imagine that 10 years ago. And to get, I don't know if it is a divided reaction. I think it may just be, the people that are super upset sending me messages. And because I get, sort of, 30, 40, 50, 60 after a while, like, oh, maybe that is the lay of the land. But I don't care. I have to go with how I feel. We're going back to Jedi rules. Just the best. Just brilliant, wonderful. I think, and this will be recency bias, of course it will be, we're human beings. My favourite, and it's definitely my favourite Royal Rumble booking decision ever, I think, as I look around the room. Maybe just in general, because when John Cena, well actually, let's wind it back up a little bit. We'll get into all the rest of it, the surprises and such. When Logan Paul threw out CM Punk, I was so mad, right? I was so mad, because Logan Paul just irks me, both wrestling and real life-wise. So again, kudos to WWE, that was the whole point. But by this point, CM Punk could also toss Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. They do their thing on the outside. I, like the nerd I am, have convinced myself we're going to do the triple threat match at WrestleMania, which will be brilliant. How did we not call that before? But they're out of it, and you look in the ring, you see Logan Paul, you see Jey Uso, and you see John Cena. And we're so preconditioned to go, well, of course it's going to be John Cena. It makes sense. It's a nice story. He's going to get a big pop. It sets him up for Cody Rhodes. Cool. And while Jey Uso, of course, could win the Rumble, it's not something we're used to. And again, we are human beings, we do fall into a patterns. John Cena then clotheslines Logan Paul so hard over the top rope, I laughed a little bit. Okay, that's bad on me. Schadenfreude is not a good thing. I have these moments. I do deserve that. Again, look, I punish myself. Terrible thing to say. When John Cena and Jey Uso then teetering on the ring apron, I'm still there. I'm enjoying it because the Royal Rumble, the fans are up. But I don't lack that nervousness in my tum-tum and my belly because I'm like, of course John Cena's going to win. It's John Cena and we love John Cena. It's going to be great and it's going to feel good. So when Jey just booped him and he fell on the floor, I had a moment of like 21-1 at WrestleMania 30. I was like, did I just see that? I rewound it just to make sure. And the fact you have John Cena putting him over as well, man, I went crazy. That is brilliant. That's a real reaction, man. Because John Cena is John Cena no matter what you do to John Cena. And I get that sounds stupid, but it's true. CM Punk was my pick. CM Punk is CM Punk no matter what you do to CM Punk. Jey Uso right now is in a very interesting position. He's one of the most over guys in the company. He's super popular. We're yeeting. We're buying his merchandise. But WWE needs to send a message. If nothing else, say, we've heard you. We've heard you, and we're going to put him in a prominent spot. And now, even if it's not the proper main event of WrestleMania, he's likely going to take on Gunther. And given that he lost at Satellite's main event, he's probably going to beat Gunther for the world title at WrestleMania 41. That's absurd. That's wonderful. And that's brilliant. We went through 20 years of WWE where we always went with the same old. And if somebody did get some momentum behind it, we ignored it. So to give Jey Uso the Royal Rumble, I don't care what happens from this point out. He can ride that all the way to the Money Bank. And to the people messaging me going, oh, he wouldn't be over if he didn't have the entrance or say yeet. He has the entrance and he says yeet. You can't take things away from his arsenal. That's like saying CM Punk wouldn't be very good if he wasn't good at promos and coming across like a real person. He does all these things. I've said this since I used to work in video games. Everyone goes, that Batman game wouldn't be very good if Batman wasn't in it. Batman is flipping in it. And the whole point is you look at Batman and go, wow, he has this array of things we can use to make a great game. Let's lean on it. And with Jey Uso, you go, wow, this guy's got a load of things we can lean on. Let's turn him into another major superstar. Once more, if you want to go nuts at me and say, Simon, you don't know what you're talking talking about, and it's despicable. You have this platform, mum and dad, it's great to see you, but I think it's brilliant, and I think it's great. And even if we had done this with somebody else that I wasn't as in love with, it's just over the top thing to say, I apologize. I love the fact that we took a risk and we tried something new, and I want to see how it's going to play out. Here we are, right now. Does John Cena feel diminished? No, he's still flipping John Cena. He's still going to win the Elimination Chamber, and he's still going to take on Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41. Go and listen to John Cena's promo afterwards in that press conference. He knows what he's doing. So I'm a huge fan of it. I really am. And I'm going to forget some of the surprises here because there's too much to talk about. Joe Hendry at number 15 is the most feel-good moment of the entire year. Again, if you know his story and how hard that he's worked, and of course I was lucky enough to take him on at the TNA pay-per-view in October 2023, it blows my brain. So he must have woken up this morning and be like, what is going on? It was truly tremendous. It was truly brilliant, and you should find 5 minutes today to watch the whole thing, especially because Joe decided, again within the realms of kayfabe, I'm going to try and take out Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns throws him out. The Jacob for 2 booking was just brilliant and made me happy and put a smile on my face. AJ Styles being back. Oh, the moment you had John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and everybody else in that match looking at each other, I was like, we need to enjoy this because it's probably going to be 20 plus years before you can even get away with doing something like this again. It really, really did feel big time. And even Logan Paul getting all the heat he did for number 30. I was so angry because I forgot he was in the Rumble. So I was like, who's going to be 30? And it was him. I was like, oh man, that guy. So even though it may tie into some of my real feelings, at least it gave me an emotional response, which is what wrestling is really good at. Now, there are criticisms here. Drew McIntyre being thrown out by Damian Priest, brilliant. If you want to do Drew versus Priest at WrestleMania, I'm fine with it, but it just was so anticlimactic. There's that word again. Drew McIntyre's been on fire, man, and I was a little bit like, oh, something didn't seem to add up there. I know there's a bunch of rumors going around. I'm not going to tie into them until they've been sort of cemented, because what did we talk about with Alexa Bliss? Let's be clever. I also thought Shinsuke Nakamura was kind of just there. He's meant to be the US champion. But the flip side to that is, once again, Jacob for 2 was absolutely amazing. Tied into everything from Saturday night's main event with Braun Strowman. Don't mind that, but it did tell me that Jacob for 2 probably should have just won the damn thing to begin with. Logan Paul also threw out AJ Styles, so I suppose we may be heading in that direction. Maybe he's taken on AJ Styles. I find it difficult to remember who Logan Paul has actually feuded with. But again, it definitely lulled, because at one point you had all these megastars looking at each other. You had to calm down for a little bit. Maybe you didn't, I don't know. But I really enjoyed myself. And it was the small things as well. Drew McIntyre would sort of storm around the place going, oh, I hate you, I hate everyone. And Sheamus at one point went and yelled at Jacob for 2 going, why did you get rid of Joe? Why did you attack Joe Hendry? I was enjoying the stupid skits that he was doing. So, I had a really good time. And I think even if it had been badly booked, getting Jey Uso winning would have sent me crazy anyway. I probably should have filmed myself and done one of those reaction videos that people think are fake. They're always on Twitch. Oh, that's not real. Mine definitely was real. And it was early in the morning, so people probably got woken up by me, and now I'm going to be yelled at later. But overall, I had a tremendous time with this Royal Rumble. I did. And a lot of it, of course, is right now because I'm buzzing about Jey Uso winning. But I just love the fact that Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble. Main event Jey Uso, even if he doesn't properly main event, is going to become real at some point. I enjoy his matches, and I know people keep bringing up the WrestleMania 40 match with Jimmy Uso. Wrestlers are allowed to have disappointing matches if that's how you see it. Like, you can find anybody right now who has a championship, who's at the tippy top of the card, and they'll fall into that as well. I mean, we talked about Sami Zayn. No idea what's going to happen there. Again, is Jey Uso going to win the title and Sami Zayn beat him for it? I actually think that's the seeds we planted. That's what I thought after I remembered that and I saw Jey Uso go out. So I'm hugely, hugely interested. And I like the iShow Speed stuff as well. Say we like about Speed, again, just watching it from an entertainment level. I thought Tozawa being in it was nuts because he hadn't declared. And then Triple H is deciding, you're the nearest person, you be in it. But it was the spear by Bron Breakker, who also had a tremendous Royal Rumble. That spear off with Roman Reigns made me so damn happy. But he got flattened and then he got thrown out the Royal Rumble and Otis just tossed him into the announce table. That guy got absolutely murked. I genuinely hope he's all right, just from a concerned parent point of view. Not his parent, you know what I'm talking about. But I like the men's Royal Rumble. I did. I had a really, really good time. But maybe I've missed something, and maybe I'm off here. Just drop me a comment below, and make sure you do it with all of that. But overall, it's a huge 2 thumbs up for this Royal Rumble. Again, a roller coaster of a good time, and I'm already looking forward to next year's. And if nothing else, Joe Hendry, the TNA World Champion, just flipping turned up in the Royal Rumble and got a massive pop, which is really confusing, because people keep telling me people don't know who Joe Hendry is in the WWE world, well, that was absolute baloney. Also, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which will be me talking about other elements of the Royal Rumble, but otherwise, go to grillermind.com/Simon. Use code Simon to get 10% off supplements. These are the ones I use. They're absolutely awesome. We talked about pro wrestling tees. Basically, go in that description, find me on social media, click all the links, find me on Cameo, TikTok, all of these things. Videos going up everywhere all of the time, but I appreciate you. I hope you did enjoy the Royal Rumble, and if not, isn't it nice we can talk about it? See you soon.